So let's solve a global mystery, shall we? Why is it that right around 1980, the world just started gaining weight? And I'm not talking about a slow creep. This was an explosion. And trust me, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
Okay, so every good investigation has to start at the scene of the crime, right? To really get what happened, we need to go back and pinpoint exactly when and where all of this began. And believe me, the data points to a very, very specific moment in time.
All right, check this out. This chart right here, this is our first major clue. Just look at the data from the US. For years and years leading up to 1980, the obesity rate was holding steady, pretty much flat at about 15%. But then, boom, look at that line just shoot straight up. In only 2 decades, it more than doubles. This isn't just some trend, you guys. This is a massive, unprecedented event in our biological history.
And you know what's truly wild about this? It's who got caught up in this wave. It wasn't just one specific group of people. The data is crystal clear. This jump happened at the exact same time for men, for women, for kids, for adults, across every single ethnic group. It was like a societal tidal wave that just lifted everybody at once.
So that leads us to the big question, right? What on earth happened? What single thing could be so powerful that it could literally change the physical shape of entire populations in just a handful of years? Let's dig in. All right, so to find our real culprit, we first have to do what any good detective does. We have to rule out the usual suspects. Now, there are a couple of explanations you hear all the time, but as you're about to see, the evidence, well, it just doesn't add up. Okay, suspect number 1, our own genes. Is it possible that the human genome, something that took hundreds of thousands of years to evolve, just suddenly decided to betray us right around the time disco was dying out?
Well, the science on this is pretty much unanimous. It's a no. As this researcher puts it, our collective gene pool just doesn't change that fast. It can't. You can't have a population-wide genetic shift causing an epidemic in a few years. So you could say genetics loads the gun, for sure, but something else had to pull the trigger. So suspect number 1 is officially off the list.
All right, so if it's not our genes, what about the other big theory? You know the one. Did everybody on the planet just collectively decide to get lazy in 1980? Was there a global memo about couch surfing that I missed? Okay, now this is where that whole laziness theory really falls apart. The timeline is just, it's all wrong. First off, as you can see here, the big decline in manual labor jobs, that happened decades before this whole crisis started. But here's the real kicker. Leisure time activity, things like jogging, actually got more popular in the late 70s and 80s. People were moving more in their free time, not less. So yeah, we can definitely cross suspect number 2 off our list. So, if it wasn't our genes and it wasn't a sudden wave of laziness, the trail of evidence leads us directly to one place we haven't really looked yet, our plates. Something fundamentally changed about what we were eating and how we were eating it. And this timeline shows us the critical flipping point. See, for most of the 20th century, we were in what you could call the pull phase. As our jobs got less physical, our bodies naturally adjusted. We just ate less. It was a natural balance. But then, around the 70s, everything flipped. We entered the push phase. All of a sudden, our entire food environment started to aggressively push us to eat more, totally overwhelming our body's natural signals that say, hey, you're full. And the main weapon in this push, it was a whole new category of food that just exploded onto the scene, ultra-processed foods. We call them UPFs. And listen, these aren't just processed foods like, say, cheese or bread. No. These are industrial formulations. They are literally designed in labs to be irresistible. They're often super high in calories, salt, sugar, and they're engineered to be so soft and easy to eat that our bodies don't even register that we're full until we've eaten way, way too much. So what exactly are we talking about here? Well, think about most of the stuff that fills the middle aisles of the grocery store. You know, sugary sodas, salty snacks like chips, those super sweet breakfast cereals, frozen pizzas, cookies, cakes, you get the picture. Starting in the late 70s, this stuff just became cheaper, way more convenient, and more aggressively marketed than anything else out there. And this number right here is the smoking gun. In a really important study, scientists put these UPFs to the test. They basically let 2 groups of people eat as much as they wanted. One group got a diet of whole foods, the other got UPFs. The results? They were absolutely staggering.
The group eating the ultra-processed food automatically, without even trying, ate 508 times more calories every single day. To put that in perspective, that's like adding an entire Big Mac to your daily diet without even realizing it. They weren't trying to overeat, the food itself was driving them to do it. This, my friends, is our culprit.
And this food revolution, it wasn't just happening in one country. Oh no, this thing went global. And it fundamentally changed our relationship with food, creating a problem on a scale humanity had just never seen before. And please don't think this is just a Western problem. Just look at this incredible comparison. In Tonga, a country that's been flooded with imported processed foods, the female obesity rate is an unbelievable 70%. Now look at Ethiopia, where traditional diets are still very common. It's less than 1%. Let me be clear. The difference here is not genetics, it is not about willpower, it is purely about the food environment. Scientists actually have a name for this whole situation. They call it an obesogenic environment. It basically means an environment that promotes weight gain. A world where the unhealthiest choices are also the easiest, the cheapest, and the most heavily promoted. We have literally engineered a world where gaining weight is the default setting. And this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from all of this. Gaining weight in this kind of environment is not a personal failure. It is not a sign of weak willpower. It is the completely normal, predictable, biological response to living in an absolutely abnormal food world. So, if the environment is the problem, then what's the solution? Well, it's pretty clear it's not about pointing fingers and blaming individuals. It's about changing the environment itself. And the great news is we already have a roadmap. Public health experts have laid out some really clear policies that can start to rewrite the rules. I mean, just imagine it. Taxing sugary drinks to make fruits and veggies cheaper, banning the marketing of junk food to kids, getting these ultra-processed foods out of our schools and public places, putting simple, clear warning labels on the front of packages so we all know what we're buying. The goal is actually really simple. Make the healthy choice the easy choice for everyone. So the mystery of 1980, it's solved. It was never about a sudden collective failure of personal discipline. It was about a food system that was radically re-engineered for profit, and our health became the collateral damage. And that leaves us with one last massive question. If our environment was engineered to make us gain weight, can we find the collective will to re-engineer it back for our health?